Now, what are the sources of performance feedback? How do you actually gather the information? One is the self-appraisal, wherein the employee himself rates his performance and his activities. Peer appraisal, colleagues rate you on your performance activities, your behavioral patterns, your aspects. Upwards appraisal, wherein managers are appraised by the teammates. Teammates are encouraged to give feedback about the manager's performance on a set of criteria. 360-degree feedback, which is very common and which is widely accepted by the organizations, is an overall assessment of performance from multiple stakeholders. Customer appraisal, most of the multinational corporations have customer appraisals designed into the appraisal system of senior level people to gauge the customer focus of the particular segment of employees. What was the standard with which performance was executed for the particular set of activities. 360-degree feedback, also known as multi-rater instruments and multi-source assessment, it is designed to enable all the stakeholders to comment and give feedback of a person's performance. Your customer gets an opportunity, your subordinate gets an opportunity, your boss, your peers, your colleagues from other departments and within your own team. Everybody gets to have a say in your assessment. This is a 360-degree feedback. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this approach? Let's say appraisal system is in itself a complex and tedious affair when it comes to managing the appraisal process. So when you have multiple people involved in the assessment of one particular individual, you have difficulties in gathering feedback from peers, more paperwork and evaluation to be done, and it is not easy to define meaningful performance criteria to arrive at a final value to define a person's performance. What are the advantages? It gives you an opportunity to get a complete picture of an individual's performance. Now, a particular employee will be very good when it comes to his relationship with the boss, but is he really good when he is tackling his customers? How good is he with his team members and subordinates? So this gives you an opportunity to arrive at a well-rounded picture. Now, removes the element of subjectivity. When you get a rounded picture, the element of subjectivity is eliminated to a great extent. Now, extensive information gathering process. What you might get out of a traditional appraisal system, your 360 gives a better look at a person because the information gathered is across a section of people. So these are the advantages of 360-degree feedback. Now, let's focus on the appraisal interview. How do people really approach this appraisal interview process? Let's take a look at the tell and sell method, wherein the manager shares the appraisal, the performance feedback, and doesn't take any counter feedback from his employee or his teammate. This is the tell and sell method. There is no real care for what is the framework and the state of mind of the employee. Second is the tell and listen method. The performance feedback is given to the employee by the manager and he listens to what the employee has to say. It is a participative approach wherein space and time is given to the employee to describe his own performance and to arrive at a conclusion. The problem solving method. The manager discards his role totally and is a complete participative approach wherein they discuss in detail the areas of improvement, the past performance and the need for improvement and the areas where concentration has to be developed and the way forward. Follow-up is the obvious end to the appraisal interview. Arrive at a program or a plan which develops the qualities and the required performance level in a particular employee based on the appraisal interview. Now, what are the skills in giving feedback? Now, what are the types of feedback? Can all managers give feedback? Is feedback taken positively? What is the methodology involved in giving feedback? Let's say feedback is of two types. Motivational feedback, feedback which motivates an individual to move forward, and developmental feedback which makes an employee to consider developing certain aspects of his job and to improve his performance. What are the guidelines on constructive developmental feedback? First of all, people are sensitive, so no feedback should be given in the open, in the presence of teammates, it should be confidential. And you start with positives. Never start an appraisal interview with negatives. Always start with positives. Focus on behavior and never the person, because it might create an image that you are targeting a particular individual, and it might result in hurting an individual's sentiments or ego. So never target a person, focus on the behavior. Be precise, don't beat around the bush, focus on the particular aspects which needs improvement, and also be precise when it comes to constructive feedback, telling him these are the positive aspects of your job. So precision is very important. Gain cooperation. You have to create an impression in the employee's mind that you are here to help him, and you have to gain his cooperation in this entire process. Deal with priority areas. Do not have all the issues on the plate once at a time. Deal with priority areas which will have immediate impact on your job performance, which is the area where your employee needs to focus to give you immediate output, and which are the areas that should be considered in the short term and which are the areas for the long term. Deal with priority areas and close with encouragement. The obvious point of the whole exercise is to make the person work better. So close with encouragement and try to arrive at a plan wherein the employee knows this is how I'm going to develop. What are the problems with appraisal schemes? What are the barriers in appraisal? Typically, appraisal is taken as confrontation. People use this to settle scores. Obviously, this is not why appraisals were created. Appraisal as judgment. These are used to judge people, wherein the managers act as counsel, jury, and the judge when it comes to the performance of an employee. There is no real scope for development in that case. Appraisal as chat. This is at the bottom of the table, wherein it's carried on as a friendly chat without no real objectives being set and no targets to be achieved. The appraisal interview is carried on as just a friendly chat. Appraisal is bureaucracy, just to satisfy the personnel department and the nagging of HR people. This is carried out just to satisfy some paper filling exercises, and there is no real value in the whole exercise. Appraisal is unfinished business. It gets serious. To settle scores, you take appraisal as an opportunity to finish things off. Now, these are obviously the barriers to appraisal schemes. Now, how do you evaluate appraisal? As is the case with any other concept of HRM, appraisal involves effort, time, and money. It is to be evaluated, and what is the criteria? Relevance. Is the appraisal system and the procedures relevant to the overall context of the organization? Is it fair? By the appraisal system itself, is it fair? How do the people perceive it? What do the managers think about it, and what do the employees think about it? The system should be fair. Serious intent. Are the people really serious about the appraisal process and the performance management process? Cooperation. Is the appraisal system receiving enough cooperation from the top management, from the middle management, and from the employees to make it effective? Efficiency. Is it measuring what it is supposed to achieve and what it is supposed to measure for your line of business and for your industry? Are the outcomes and the standards being measured in the right way? So these are the general criteria for evaluation. Moving on, let's take a look at performance management. What is performance management? What is the system all about? It is an approach in which there is a dual emphasis on setting key accountabilities, objectives, measures, priorities, and timescales for the following review period. It is very important to know it is for a particular review period. You have to set the accountabilities, objectives, measures, and most important part is you have to monitor, appraise, and adjust performance on an ongoing basis. It is not a once in a year activity, it's ongoing basis. Let's take a look at the cycle. Now, it starts the definition of business role from job description and the objectives of the organization. Now, moving on, you have to plan your performance through individual objectives for employees and development plans. Moving on to delivering and monitoring, it is an ongoing management support and ongoing review. You have to review your objectives, your development plans on an ongoing basis to have an efficient system. finally it leads to assessment and reward. It's an annual assessment and it links to pay and promotion. This in detail gives you a total picture of performance management system. What are the advantages to performance management orientation? It gives a sense of security and satisfaction to employees that his efforts are being monitored and rewarded. At the end of the year, when he is being assessed and when his performance is reviewed, he knows the management is reviewing on an ongoing basis and his efforts are rewarded. Joint objective setting, positive and participatory. When you are setting goals and objectives for a particular period of time in consultation with the employee, he knows it's shared, he knows beforehand what is expected of him. So it's positive and it is participatory, which will increase his commitment level and his contribution and will increase the positive outcome. Focus on future performance planning and improvement. This gives you a focus on the future performance planning. You can take a look at the future and there is scope for improvement because of an effective process. What are the activities involved in performance management? First up, you have to prepare performance agreements wherein you define all the relevant criteria, the set standards, what is expected, and preparation of performance and development plans. Now, follow up to the performance agreement, you have to develop plans. What are the different types of plans for development and performance? Management of performance throughout the year. How are you going to manage and review, monitor the performance throughout the year on an ongoing basis? And how we are going to carry out performance reviews. What are the stages? What is the time frame to conduct your performance reviews?